Good evening, and thank you for joining me for another microsoldering repair. I'll just wait for a few minutes just for it to get into action. My name's Wayne, company is Bit Repairs, and today I'm going to be fixing an iPad Air which has come in for charger port repair. So I'll go first of all, I'll just show you how to diagnose it. It's pretty straightforward. Unfortunately, well, I don't know whether it's unfortunately or fortunately, it's already been opened. I opened it this morning and I was expecting to do the repair today, but didn't quite get around to it. So I've come back to catch up on some work this evening because I'm off tomorrow. So the device has already been opened, as you can see, and just needs the port doing on it now. So hopefully, if anyone wants to watch along, ask any questions, then you'll be able to see how this is done. Need to just zoom in a little bit more. This camera's still a little bit new to me, so how to do the autofocus and that on it is a bit of an issue. So it just keeps on kind of focusing in and out depending on what's going on. So I'll get used to it eventually. There's some autofocus settings that I just need to play around with. But yeah, I'll work it out. So basically, just going to check, make sure that we've got online. Yes, we are currently online. I'll just put a quick comment in there. Okay, so what we got then is, first of all, is I'm going to open the screen up, and the screws have never been removed on this before, so I'm just going to get my screwdrivers. First of all, the way I like to do it is, you can probably see, there's like a foam padding all the way around. I like to remove all of this because when the screen goes back on again, if you don't remove this, then some of the foam seems to end up getting stuck inside the screen when the customer gets it back. It just doesn't look great. So I like to try and remove a load of this foam padding so that when the screen goes back on again, you're not going to have that problem where all of the foam padding starts brushing through onto the screen. It's an easy job. You just peel it back like this. And then stick it in the bin afterwards. You can't stick it back on again. It comes off in pieces usually. So we do this same procedure when we're changing the digitizers as well. So that's about right there. So let's get our Phillips screwdriver now. So we just need to unscrew the 4 screws around the outside. This screw here. Now this one, you'll notice, is slightly longer. The top right hand corner, it's a longer screw. Don't get that mixed up. It doesn't go in the other holes properly. So that top right screw, you should always make sure goes back into that top right hole again. It's a bit like, do you remember the days of the iPhone 6s and 6 Pluses? When you were to make sure you never get the screw in the wrong place with the shield at the top. So basically just going to lift it, so now you can see, you open it up like this, so they both open up in different directions. Let me just zoom out a little bit there so you can see, there you go. So you can see there how that goes, they both go up like that. So then what we're going to do, get our Phillips again, going to unscrew the battery connector on this one, put that screw to one side. Then we've got 3 screws holding down the shield for the LCD. These LCDs have rocketed in price recently, so just make sure you're not damaging any of these. They are still quite delicate, and had one today actually. Someone had managed to blow the backlight filters on their iPad. So you'll notice I've not isolated the battery yet. I've just quickly unplugged the LCD. That's going to go to one side, and now I'm quickly going to unplug the Digi. Now I'm making sure that these don't touch the board again once I've unplugged them. You really don't want them to touch the board again, especially with the LCD, because you can short stuff out Really not recommended. So then you're going to remove, there's a small piece of foam here just on the over the home button connector. So a little bit of label there, just covering it. Unplug the home button down in that corner. Okay, now your screen is going to come off. So just snip the tape at the side, snip the tape at the side. So that is off now. That's going to go with the screen. So we've got the screen to one side, and now all we've got the board ready. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to unscrew. I'll show you. I'll zoom in a little bit more. So I'm going to unscrew this plate at the top here. It's got 3 screws. So that's getting unscrewed. We've got 1, 2, 3 screws there. Don't get them mixed up again with the LCD shield plate. Connect that there, take that plate off there, so that's coming off. Right, now what we're going to do is we've got a few more bits here. So this power connector has got a little cover over it. Right, little piece of tape on there. That's going to come off. Just stick that on the battery, flick that up and unplug it with your tweezers. Put it to one side. Your rear camera, flick that up. Then you've got these here, your front-facing camera and your, what's his name? Your flex for the headphones. So, yep, that's all unplugged from the top of there. Now this board is quite well glued down. We just got to unplug these 2 antenna connectors at the bottom of here. Just flick them up, flick that one up. This board is very well glued down. So I do like to put a little bit of heat on it first as well. I'll show you that in a minute anyway. So these antennas, we're just going to pull them to one side. Okay. Pull the antennas. I don't know whether you can see that okay. It's just on tape going along here. So you're just going to pull it down to one side. Just peeling it back. If you're not sure about it, try a little bit of isopropyl as well. That loosens up this tape quite a lot. So what you'll notice I've got here is I've got a little bottle. So focus, there we go, a little bottle filled with isopropyl. You can just squirt that in a little bit there. You'll notice how it's just peeling back really easily. As soon as you put isopropyl on things like this, it just peels back, no problem at all. The isopropyl just breaks down the glue. So that's that antenna going back there. I'll show you it from another angle here. So this is just going to come all the way across now, all the way across your charger port, all the way across here. So stop there, and then you're just going to peel this little bit up here. Little bit of tape peeling up. Okay, peeling up the tape. Cool. That's coming up there. Right, now under there, you'll notice as you peel it up slightly, stop, because if you pull it too far, you're going to pull this connector off the board here. So you'll see as I'm pulling, there's a connector going onto the charging flex. Just be careful there. Also be careful as you're pulling off that you don't end up pulling off the connectors. And now you're ready to keep on pulling this tape all the way back. Don't worry if you unplug this connector in a minute. If sometimes, there we go, it's just pulled out. Absolutely fine, that is, if it flicks out. You're going to keep pulling until you've cleared the charging connector there. So that's clear now, that is. We're now going to unplug this one. Unplug that, pull it to one side, bend it back, bend it up to there. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take off these 2 screws either side of the charging port connector, because we need to take the whole charging port out now. So let's just unscrew that one, put that screw to one side, unscrew the other one, put that screw to one side. There we are. That's coming out. Now, these 2 or 3 screws at the top here, sorry, 4 screws, you'll notice, you might not even be able to see, you probably can't, but if that will focus, no, that's never going to focus, is it? There you go, you might be able to see, but this screw here, where I'm pointing to in my screwdriver, is missing. This is actually fallen out. So I'm going to tighten the remaining screws up here, tighten them up. Now, there's a chance if I look at this screen, this digitizer, that the screw that's out will actually be stuck to the tape. There it is. It's stuck to the tape on the bottom of the digitizer. There we go. So that's where you find that screw if it's missing. These screws are prone to coming loose, which is why this charger port breaks so much on the iPad Air 1. It's also the same charger port on various other iPad Airs as well. So, you know, be aware that this is a really common fault on quite a few different iPads, just from flexion. So now what we're going to do is, I'll zoom you in a little bit more, will I? No, that's the maximum of my zoom on that. The other one doesn't zoom out far enough, and this one doesn't zoom in far enough, so I need something in between. It's a Sony 6400, A6400, the camera that I'm using. So it's a decent camera, but I just need to get the right lenses and the right training. So anyway, the charger port's coming out there. There we go, that's the charger port lifting out now. So what we're going to do now is everything's disconnected from this board. So we're all ready to get the board out, but we do need to put a bit of heat on it first. So I'm just going to stick it on the heat plate for a second, and then I'm going to go over to the bits box. I'll turn off the microphone for a second so I can put it down and not make a noise. Okay, back to it again now. Sorry about the delay there. Right, so got the part now. Charging port dock connector, iPad Air black. So we only stock one charging port connector. We just stock the black one. I don't see much point really in what's the name, in stock in the two different colours. People don't seem to mind. Seems to just be charging port to charging port. So right, this should be warm enough now. It doesn't need to be mega warm, just enough to, let's get one of these spudgers. There we go. All I'm after is one of these. So this is, we get these from Union Repair, and all they are is just bits of plastic really. So I'm just going to squirt some isopropyl under the board. I just want to loosen it up a little bit. There we go. And we're going to lift it up a little bit here. This board's really loose. That was strange. They're normally a lot more well stuck down than that. That was like it had been out before. I do hope this hasn't been out before, because I often find when they've been out before that someone's played around with them and made a mess. No, just genuinely wasn't stuck down very well. So that's the logic board for your iPad Air. So again, I'm going to put the chassis to one side. Next part here is we've got a little piece of tape here now. So two parts. We've got this piece of tape there. So that, there we go. If I just peel that back off here to expose the actual connector. I'm going to put that down here for now, and then we got this at the top here. We got a little piece of plastic which I'm just going to peel off and stick that here, and then we've also got this here as well, this little plastic protector. Okay, that's going to come off. So we've got all of that off there. Right, now what we're ready to do is we're ready to remove this charging port. So we need to find a way of desoldering all of these pins here at the same time. So your best bet with this, let me move you over to, let's move you over to camera 4 now, so you can see. I'm just going to put it onto the microscope bench, and then I'll move you over to camera, let me just stick this here. Get that zoomed in. There we are. And I'll move you over to camera 3 now. So camera 3 is now showing us the microscope view of the charging port connector. So this connector, it's quite well soldered in. Let me just zoom it into focus. So what we're going to do is we are going to use, let's have a little look, see if I can do a picture in picture on this. PIP, there we go. So you can also see a little bit there. Let me just move this camera around. Hold on. Okay, so now if we do picture in picture there, right. So what you can see here now, you can see the bench that I'm using, and what you can also see is the charging port here. So I'm going to get some flux now, and I'm going to cover this whole area where the port is in flux. Right, that's all covered. You can see just a nice little gloop of flux all over the show. Now I'm going to get my nice big soldering iron now, and I'm going to get a big glob of solder on the end of it, and I'm going to cover this whole charging port in solder. So we're basically going here, and I'm going to cover the whole area in leaded solder. Okay, going to get a nice big blob of solder on the go here. Okay, so nice big glob of solder. Now I'm going to pull it up from one end. You can see me here with my finger pulling it up from one end. I'm going to apply some heat, right? And now I'm going to slowly move the iron from one side to the other, and I'm going to lift it up from the board slowly. So I'm basically just going across and lift, across and lift, across and lift, across and lift, across and lift. We're not forcing this at all. Okay, you force it, you're going to pull pads, and then it will just drop off. Yeah, it's just going to drop off the board just like that. So that is off the board now. Next step is we want to get a little bit more flux on the board here, because it's all burnt away now, that we put on before. It does use quite a bit of flux doing it with this. Then we're going to put a little bit more solder onto our tip. So I haven't actually looked through this microscope yet, I'm just looking at the camera view. You don't really need to for this part of it. Now what you're trying to avoid here now with doing this is you'll notice at either end of this charger port is two golden pads. You do not want to get solder on them two golden pads at the ends. You'll see very clearly in a bit why not. But all we're looking to do is we're looking to tin all of these pads underneath here. Okay, we want it all to be leaded solder on there now. Okay, so now I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to clean it up with some isopropyl. Going to get rid of this goop from around the side. We do not need the goop from around the side. All that's going to get cleaned up. Okay, all that's done. Okay, turn that around, a little bit more on the end here. You don't want any of this goop to be here because it's just going to get in the way. You want this to be nice and clean. Clean, pristine jobs is what you want when you're doing these microsoldering repairs. Look how tidy that is now before I've started to put a new connector on it. It's pristine, it's perfect. So we want our next connector to go on. This is our new connector. So let me flick over to camera 4. So this here, that's our new connector that we're going to put on. So we're going to peel off the blue sticky tape off the connector side. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put on, let's go back to there. We're going to put on a load of flux on the board first. Okay. Load of flux over all of those freshly tinned pins. And then we're going to put a load of flux on the top, not on the underside, don't need any on the underside, on the top of the charger port. Okay? Done. So we've got a load of flux on the top and we've got a load of flux on the board. So it's basically a flux sandwich on the board. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get my micro pencil, small soldering iron, and I'm going to blob some solder onto the end of that. So I'm going to get some solder onto the end of my soldering iron. There. Right. That's ready. Now I'm going to get my tweezers. Get some of these. That's fine. And you'll notice now I'm going to align up this connector with these pins perfectly by using these gold bits on the end. So I'm going to start and I'm going to push this, and you'll notice the gold pad shows through that little window. So can you see the little window there in the corner? It's right down here. You can see that little golden window. So you're looking for that to be perfectly aligned. So once that's perfectly aligned, you're going to dab some solder on the end of these pins here. Okay? Does not really matter how perfect it is. It doesn't even matter if they're shorting out for now, because they're not going to stay like that. Yeah? We just want to get this connector onto the board for now. Now we're going to move over to the other side. And we're going to get alignment there as well. So you'll notice this little window again here. Yeah. Little window. There it is. Get your alignment right. And then tack that side down. Tack that side down. Okay. I'm out of solder on my iron now, so I'm going to put a bit more solder on the iron. Tack it down. Doesn't matter if we're running out of flux here. You can brush it across. Okay. So that's what I'm doing. You can see I'm brushing the iron across these pins. Yeah? So, now we're going to go back to the other side. Now we've got our alignment. We've got perfect alignment on that. And these pins really do need perfect alignment. You've got to get that perfect alignment on it. So, now we're going to go back to the M1 and we're going to brush across from there. And you'll notice I've just picked up that blob and I'm sharing it around now. And that little blob that I left on the end has now gone towards tinning every single one of these pads. Yeah? But now we've done that, they're not all connected at the moment. They look okay, but I don't believe that they are all connected underneath. So what we're going to have to do is we're basically going to go one at a time now on each of these pins. So we're going to go, starting in the top right, we're going to go and put some pressure on it. Okay. Going to go to the next one, put some pressure. Next one, put some pressure. Next, pressure. We're just going to go across each and every single pin, just putting a little bit of pressure on and trying to get it to go through. Yeah? So that's what we're doing. We're putting that pressure onto the pins. And we're hopefully getting the pin on top to connect to the pad underneath permanently. So we're soldering the two pads together. Bottom pad to top pad, and they're getting soldered together. You notice that the amount of solder on the top reduces as it sucks through to the opposite side of the board. If you run out of solder on top, you can always add more onto it. You can always add more solder onto the top of it once it's sucked through to the opposite side of the board. See these where the hole's showing now? That's because it's sucked through to the opposite side of the board. It's gone through the hole and now it's on the opposite side. So it doesn't look as pretty as it did before, but that's what we're after, is functionality. It doesn't have to look pretty, it's functionality that's key. So then we've got our alignment there. Let's put more flux on. We've burnt off a lot of that flux doing that, so we need to add some more flux. See how much we're using? We're literally covering it in flux. You do use so much flux with this repair. So going to put some more solder on the iron again now. Sorry for the pulling it out of focus there. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put more solder onto our iron and we're going to brush it across these pins like this. a little bit more solder, and we're brushing it across the pins because all of that other solder that we had there before has now flowed through to the opposite side of the board. So we just need a little bit extra to allow that to flow to the top. Okay, now we go across, 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 brushing it across. Relatively hot this is, this soldering iron. It's enough so that it can melt the solder almost immediately. The temperature is, I'm on 380, and it's a JBC solder station. So you've got to say that they're all different. Your 380 is going to be different to my 380 if you're not using a JBC station. Only JBC stations I find are actually calibrated to any decent level. So that's the biggest difference. I've tested this 380 and it was bang on 380. I've tested a cheaper station that I've seen. It fluctuated. It was anywhere between kind of 300 and 460. Massively lower, massively higher. So now you can see that charger port there. All of the pins are looking good. I'm confident now that I've got every single one of those pins connected. So I'm just going to brush over it now, and I'm going to get it tidied up now. I'm going to get all of this flux that we just lathered all over the board, and I want to get it all up now. You don't leave all of this flux behind. You'll only see amateurs leaving all of this flux behind. So you want to get it up. Doesn't matter if you pull off a little bit of this black at the same time. So you'll notice it's going a little bit silver. It's better off just to go a little bit silver than it is to end up leaving tons and tons of flux behind on the board. So we're going to cover this with a little piece of tape that came with it anyway. So that's done there. That is all the flux off that side. We're now going to turn it over, and then we're going to find on the opposite side, around this little connector here where we've done it, we're going to find a load of flux here as well. So we're going to tidy all that off. Yeah. Going to tidy off all of that flux from around the connector. It's not good for the board at all. Not good to be left there long term. So that's all cleaned up now. Okay, now you can have a look at that connector. You'll see absolutely pristine, perfect. Now this is how I know straight away. I immediately know if I don't even need to put a warranty sticker on it. I know when I've done a charger port. I know when it's been somewhere else. So someone sends something in to me, says, oh, you've done this before. I'll look at it, I'll go, definitely not. Wasn't me. I don't do charger ports like that. So, right, let's pull it back to this camera now. Let me see. That one should do. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick on the little piece of tape that came off it over the connector here. That's going to go back over there again. See that? Straight over there. Cover all of them pins up. Okay. Next, we're going to turn it over. We're going to stick on the piece of shielding that came off here. It's important. Let's stick all of the bits on that came off in the first place. Let me just zoom out again here. There we go. Done. So that's a little bit better. Right. I'm going to stick that one on there. That's going to cover that part. We're putting everything back. Everything that came off this board should go back on this board. And that's just how it is. They didn't put it there for no reason whatsoever. So that's going back on there. That little piece of plastic's going back onto there again. So that there, I'm going to test that now. The best way for me to test it is for me to not put a battery on. I'm just going to plug a charging cable in to the connector now here, and I'm going to see if it pulls around about 0.07 amps. Yep, so you can see on the display there on that one. I don't know whether you can actually see it. It's fluctuating away there. It's pulling 0.074 amps, which is perfect for me. When there's no battery connected, even an iPhone will generally pull around about that kind of current from the charging port. It's a good indication of whether you've actually fixed it or not. So if you've done TriStar, for example, before it was pulling 0.006, you'll find after that, if you've done the repair, then it's going to then be pulling 0.074 or 0.08, something around about there. So you're going to get that current draw after it's been fixed. So I'm pretty confident now on this that it's been fixed. But we will together, we'll put this board back in again. So let me just move the camera around over to this table. Really do need some more cameras, don't I? So, right, going to get the iPad back again. Got a couple of extra viewers I've noticed at the moment, so welcome to the stream. Feel free to like and subscribe as well. I could do with as many subscribers as possible at the moment to build this channel up into a little bit more of a significant YouTube channel. So here, what we're going to do, put this board back in again. Now what I'm going to do is, before I put it in, I always get a little bit of, it's actually the sticky back off the labels that we use, and I'm just going to stick that, once I've got the alignment on the battery, so I've got it in place, perfect, there, right, I am now going to lift it up, stick that underneath there. I find this is great for not damaging any of the pins. You're guaranteed not to damage a pin with a little piece of paper, and it's just as good as anything at isolating the connector. So there, we're going to just take off this blue sticky from the back of the charger port that I've just fitted now. That's in place. Right, remember you've got this little connector that goes underneath here. Make sure that gets taken out, pulled out into place. Push the charge port back in again. That can go back down there. Stick that down. Stick that down to there. We'll put all of these antenna cables back in a minute. So we're going to reconnect the, put the two screws in for the charger port. They're going to go in now at the bottom. There we go. One screw goes in. Get that in. All of these screws that came out, they all have to go back in again. I absolutely loathe it when people leave stuff out of these devices. There's just no excuse for it. Absolutely no excuse to be leaving stuff out. If you're no good at doing these repairs, send them to someone that knows how to do them, because all of the bits are here for a very good reason. So them two screws are going into there. Them into there. Right. So what we're going to do next, we're going to plug this antenna connector back in again, flick that back up. That goes back into there. Sorry, it's speaker connector, this one, not antenna. That one goes over, flips in. Another one here, flick that up, flick that over. That one's going to go back into there. Okay. This is why it's important to get all those pins connected on the charger port, otherwise things like speaker won't work for the customer when it's been done. Going to pull this tape back over. This is why I try to keep this tape as tidy as possible, because we're going to put it all back into place again. So all of the tape that came off is going back where it came from. We're not missing it all out. All gets pushed back over again, back into place. Try to make it as flat, as good as it was when you got the device to begin with. It's just about pride of doing what you do. You know, just make sure that when you've sent it back that the customer is going to be happy with the repair, because you know you've done a decent job of it. So that's done there, that's onto there. Clip that antenna connector onto that one. So we've just clipped on those two antenna connectors on the bottom there. Don't forget to do those, they're important, they are. If you don't clip those on, they're going to have Wi-Fi issues on this device. Then you go to the top now. So we're going to plug in the camera. Just click that into place. Okay, camera goes in. Prefer to use my fingers for these ones. You'll notice the battery is still isolated, so it doesn't matter about not getting perfect connection straight away on these. There we go, that's that one, that one, that one. Now we're going to do the power button connector. Power button goes, flips over there, push that in, push that down. Put the little piece of tape back over the top of it again. Stops that connector from coming loose. Right, now we're going to get our screen. Going to put the digi back on again. Do this. And do that one. Now, you're doing these connectors. Don't mush them around too much. Try and get good alignment and then push them in. If you're mushing them around, it's just disaster. You're going to end up having to send it in to me for repair. Push that in, push that back, clip that down. So same again. There was a small piece of tape that went over the top of that to make sure that doesn't come off. Then we're going to put the LCD back on again. LCD goes in. I'm going to have to turn it round a bit here just to get it right. Okay. Rest that up against you for now. Okay, push that down. We're going to unisolate the battery. Going to plug the battery connector in now, and I'm going to reconnect the battery. So that's done. Right, not quite finished yet. This is just in test now. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this on charge, and we should get the charge symbol coming straight up. Pulling 0.1, pulling 1 amp, 1.2, there we go. So we've got battery logo straight away. Yep. So battery logo's on. It's pulling 1.2 amps at the moment on the charger. Absolutely fine, that is. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to open it back up again like this, leaving it on charge, but I'm just going to hold it like this. And now I'm going to put the rest of these shields back on again. The reason being is because this is the quickest way I've found of doing it. I can now carry on putting these screws into the device while it's on charge. I want to try and make sure that there's some charge in it, that it boots up fine before it goes out. But if I've had to put these screws in and then leave it on charge, I'm just wasting that little bit of extra time. You need to try and get as much done in as short a time as possible, but try and be as good as possible doing it. You know, you don't want to be cutting corners or anything like that. Let's get these screws in here. That screw there, that screw there. Right. That one's okay. Last thing you want to be doing here as well is touching these screens. The more you touch them, the more of a clean-up job you've got at the end. So you want to try and minimize the amount that you actually touch these screens with your hands. You know, if you can not touch them at all, great. So I inevitably end up touching it slightly around the edge, a little bit tiny around the edge here. Sometimes I'll catch it in the glass with the back of my hand. So we're going to put these screws in now. Don't forget the one that's longer than the rest. So the one in the top right corner, that screw is longer than the rest. Yeah. Okay, and that's all going to go back in again. All these screws going back down. I think both of them just stuck to my screwdriver there. Yep. Don't worry about it, just give it a tap, take it off. Okay. That's down to there. That's down there. Right, that's all done. So I'm going to check this around now to make sure that everything's fine around the glue around the edges. Noticed actually that there's another screw that's stuck to the back of the LCD that's actually come out of here. So I'll put that back in again, make sure that's tight. No more loose screws. Must have been like a rattle plate or something. This, every screw seems to be loose. Loads of loose screws. Right, so that can go down, push that down. I often find the way that we get these screens off, what we do is we isopropyl around where it's been taken off, and then we'll stick it down with the original Apple tape. We will try to leave as much as possible the original Apple tape. Because of the techniques we use to get these screens off, the tape is still intact, and sticking it back down again is actually better than using new tape, would you believe it? It sticks better. So this screen now is stuck with the original Apple tape, and there's no gaps in it. It's not lifting up because we've isopropyled it. It's kind of re-engaged the tape again. So it's a good way of doing it. If you can get the screen off in a successful way without disturbing the tape too much like we do, then you don't have to replace the original Apple tape. You can stick it straight back down. We never get any complaints with it. If it does lift at all, we'll bring it back in, we'll do the job. It's no problem. So that is that job done. Still on charge. It's now pulling 2.2 amps. Old charging port goes in the bin. So yeah, I think I'm going to do another stream in a minute. So I've got a couple more repairs to do here. I'm still not sure I still don't know whether to show people how I do my iPhone 7 audio IC repair. I've not built up the guts yet to show people how to do it. I enjoy doing it so much. It's a routine repair for me now. Takes minutes, absolutely minutes to do with my techniques. But that's purely because I've been doing it for so long. I've probably done around about 10 or 20,000 of them. So it's crazy. I'll find another repair around here. I'll end this stream now, so it's not too long, and I'll find another repair around here that we can do another live stream now. So wait for us, wait another 5 minutes or so. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and tell friends about this. Share www.bitrepairs.com. You can go on there, you can order any microsoldering services that we do. We also do non-microsoldering services as well. So thanks very much for joining me. Have a good evening and good night.